If you want to change your noisy wheel bearing at home using these DIY kits, then you're in the right place. With the hub locked into the vise, I start by removing the spindle using this pull-through kit. This large plate fits over the two studs. You then take the provided washers, place them over the studs and wind the original lug nuts on, tightening it all the way down. Take the threaded rod and nut, place the nuts behind the plate, then wind the rod into it until it pushes against the hub. With only one, it would wind out wonky, which damages the wheel bearing, and that's fine because you have to change it anyway, nothing wrong there. But for a smooth extract, I'm using another one on the other side. I clamp it to one stud, as this is the only way it'll fit on. With the threaded rod wound in and pushed against the hub, it's time to wind the spindle out. With two ratchets, I begin to wind them at the same time. This has to be the cleanest and easiest DIY method available. No hammering, just a controlled transition all the way. Let's replay this from the inside. You can see it's the inner race holding the spindle on, and the pull-through kit is removing it. Typically, the other inner race is stuck to the spindle, but we'll remove that later. I'm looking for the bearing retaining spring. It's not on this side, so it must be on the other. With a hammer and chisel, I remove the ABS shield. Then, using a seal puller, I remove the grease seal. Now, we can see the retaining spring, which means the bearing will be removed from this side. Remove the spring with pliers. We're going to use this inner race to push the bearing out from the other side. Back out, I find a press piece that matches the race's diameter and set it aside. Next, find a cup that's larger than the bearing and sit it against the bore. This is what the bearing will be pulled into. Take the match press piece and place it against the cup. Then, run the threaded rod through the press piece and cup. On the opposite side, fit the inner race and press piece. From the box, take the washer and the large nut, wind it on and adjust everything into position. Place the ratchet onto the large nut and hold the opposite end with a spanner. Begin winding. As the tension increases, you'll hear a crack or pop. This is the bearing unseating from the position it's been in for years. Removing any bearing compromises it because it's been pulled on the inner race, which fractures the rollers. You can't reuse it. Even if it feels good, it's done, straight in the bin. With the bearing out, the next job is to get the inner race off the spindle. I'm using a bearing pull-through kit for this. One half slides under the race, the other half slides in and clamps on so that the whole thing gets fully supported. Washers and bolts go on and everything gets tightened down. Next, the two puller rods thread in from either side, two washers, the crossbar drops over the top, then another pair of washers and nuts to get it all locked together. I wind the centre rod in a touch, drop the two press pieces onto the shaft and start winding. It's seriously tight, you can actually see the tool flexing until the race finally gives way and it pulls off cleanly. This works because there's a gap between the race and the spindle. With it off, you can see that there's no damage done. I'm using this hub cleaner tool because the spindle face is pretty rough. It slips over the studs and cleans in between them. I work my way around for a few minutes and you can see how well it cleans the face up. I use brake cleaner to make sure the bore is clean. Usually that's enough for reinstall, but for job satisfaction I go a step further. An electric wire brush to clean the hub, rust converter, red oxide primer and a satin top coat. Now we're ready for installation. Find a press piece that matches the outer diameter of the bearing. This is the only one in the box that fits, but the inner race is in the way and we don't want to be pushing against that. There are two options here. 1. Remove the inner race so the press piece only contacts the outer race, then put the inner back in afterwards. Or gut the old bearing and use it to press against the new one, followed by another press piece. I went with option 1. The rule is simple, never touch the rollers on install, only the outside. With a clean press piece, this is perfectly acceptable. Option 2 works too, but adding extra pressure just introduces more instability. With this setup, I place a rod and washer through. On the other side, a press piece leans on the front bore, followed by the washer and nut. Once everything is wound into position, it's time to press the bearing in. Try to get the bearing as central as possible before pressing. A little wiggle in the first few millimeters is normal. As long as you're not forcing it, it will straighten out and the torque stays consistent. But if it binds or tightens, stop and reset. On a hydraulic press, this misalignment happens too, but you don't feel it. With a hand press, you can sense it, which actually gives you more control. After removing the tool, I place the inner race back in and secure it whilst installing the other components. First, the retaining spring, which completely locks the bearing down. For the front grease seal, I apply a light coat of engine oil. Using a flat press cup that matches the outer diameter perfectly, I center the seal in the bore and carefully tap it into position. I check regularly and re-tap as needed until it sits flush. This hub is getting a new disc shield, and now is the perfect time to install it. Once it's screwed down, I remove the plastic piece supporting the inner races. It's time to install the spindle. I grab the press piece that matches the inner race's diameter and clean the spindle shaft with brake cleaner. On the outer face, I place another press piece, insert the rod and washer, then slide it through the bearing so it leans against the inner race. On the opposite side, I add the press piece, washer and nut and wind everything into position. You should be able to seat the first few millimeters by hand. Using a spanner and ratchet, we begin winding. The inner rollers are completely protected because we're pressing on both inner races. Clamping them together, there's no contact. You'll know when the bearing is fully seated because it'll come to a sharp stop. Remove the tool and spin the hub. It's smooth and tight, which is normal as the grease seal creates some friction on the shaft. Install the inner grease seal the same way as before. All the press equipment I've used is linked in the description. This ABS ring was a bit tricky to get in. I used a press piece that fit perfectly, angled it in and held it tightly whilst tapping the opposite end. And that's it, all complete. If you found value in this video, subscribe and I'll make more content like this.